Everybody, and welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Today's video is going to be discussing the Bitcoin bottom and how the 3 daily RSI has given us the clues over the last 3 to 4 years of how Bitcoin is going to behave in the market and how the market is going to recover. And right now we're in a moment where I believe Bitcoin is in its bottoming formation and will be heading in the next couple of years to that magical $150,000 to $200,000. So I believe now is one of the most crucial times to be paying attention to the market, and we're going to provide a little bit of context to the 3 daily RSI level. And to do that, that means taking us all the way back to 2023, where we always was outlining the 3 daily RSI level in preparations for the bull market in 2023, 4 and 5. It's been used many times to prepare for bull markets. You see here that was the first major pullback. I hit Bitcoin around $20,000, expecting a little bit further down before we rampaged to a brand new all-time high. And again in 2024, you see we had another example of Bitcoin ranging in the structure, coming down to the 3 daily RSI, preparing for the final move to lead us from around 50,000 all the way to 120,000. So guys, we're in a moment now where the 3 daily RSI is at a very crucial level, and I believe it will provide the clues as to how the market's going to behave over the next coming months and years. And I do believe that Bitcoin will head on into an all-time high once again. So the 3 daily RSI, guys, is very important. Now, I don't use many indicators on the channel, if at all, but the 3 daily RSI is one I will use in very specific times, and now is a very crucial time in the market. The 3 daily RSI will only ever break below a certain level when the market is very weak, and once we go on to reclaim and then put in our bullish divergence, it only has ever set up the market to rampage to an all-time high with significant strength. And on a day like today, where we're seeing memory stocks fall, a couple of high cap tech stocks falling, and the stock market gradually beginning to get a little bit weaker, we have Bitcoin remaining very strong with the confluence of the 3 daily RSI. So you see, guys, the last time we actually broke below this in the 2021 cycle, it told us that the Bitcoin was going to be very weak, and we had to continue to go lower and lower until we got the bullish divergence of the reclaim on the 3 daily RSI, and then that level was to hold all the way up until our breaking structure in 2025. So you see here, guys, from Bitcoin first breaking that market structure in 2022 all the way to the bottom, it took about 1 year. Now, where we are in the market at the moment is Bitcoin first broke its structure in November 2025, and we're about 260 days through that. So we are saying we potentially have another 3 months, a last 3 months, a chance to accumulate Bitcoin before it starts its bull market. If it hasn't started its bull market already, now there's a big chance that the bottom is in, and we're only going to get a couple more chances of a couple of sharp pullbacks that don't break this low for us to rampage onto a new all-time high, a brand new bull market. So now is a very crucial time to be paying attention. Not only that, we also have the first significant RSI break and retest. Now, I'm going to draw that out for you so you can see it. A very clear RSI breakout on the 3 daily time frame to come down and retest to give us that bullish divergence. You see that we had a lower low in price, we had a higher low in the 3 daily RSI, coming back into the very key level. Now, I believe Bitcoin will probably retest this RSI level once more before we can actually start rampaging on. Now, that gives us a scope of 1 to 3 months time here for us to be able to maybe chop and trade in and around these levels for people to get the final opportunities in. But I do not necessarily think that Bitcoin has to break this low. I absolutely believe that the chances are Bitcoin bottom is in, and we are next heading to an all-time high, and we just have to prepare for the intermediary chop of 1 to 3 months of potential market makers spiking positions to be able to get their orders filled. The books balanced before the next major bull market. You see, the last time we had a very, very clear RSI 3-daily time frame trend change was in November 2022, before this bull market. A very clear retest of the 3-daily RSI, which once again led to a slightly lower low in price and a very much higher low on the RSI. And you see here, Bitcoin did go in for one more retest of that top level on the 3-daily RSI. So it would not surprise me to see a retest of around the 40 level on the 3-daily RSI, and I think that should coincide with a very, very, very nice opportunity for the market to start moving up. And once we do start to see the 3-daily RSI crossing into them overbought territories, that will be a significant indicator to a lot of people that the bull market's back on. But it is usually in those moments where we'll get some kind of move to the upside, and then we'll get our sharp pullback. So we need to be in from these positions here, not when the daily RSI, the 3-daily RSI, is getting into them overbought territories. Now, I believe Bitcoin's structure at the minute on the lower time frame could give us a big clue as to what could happen over the next month or 3 months. In terms of the chop that we are talking about, get the 3-daily RSI off the screen. I think there really is not much more to discuss in terms of the 3-daily RSI. I've given you the examples of how we've used it in 2023, 2024 to determine whether we are going to bounce in a bull market or whether we're in a bear market, and we're going to use it as a little bit of resistance, and we need to see the setups of the bullish divergence, which we have right now. So Bitcoin has a very, very clear market structure here. If the bottom's in, I would expect, like I say, a bit of chop to be in play over the next month or so. If the 3-daily RSI is anything to go by, if that yearly long trend of the break in RSI structure is anything to go by. We do not have to repeat patterns, guys, but you know, the market tends to repeat patterns just in very similar ways. So I think on the lower time frame, I've put out a couple of different market structures of what I think might happen on the Patreon. But my gut feeling would say we got pretty close to taking this wick out, this June 2026 wick. We got very, very close, which tells me there's a lot of quick liquidity above there. And also we have some higher lows forming here on the Bitcoin price chart. So I think if Bitcoin was going to manage to go for some kind of vertical accumulation here, and the stops get taken out somehow, it doesn't necessarily mean that the stops have to get placed down here. We know as the market moves up, people like to move their stop losses up. So a significant pullback from around 72 back to around 63, 64 would do the trick, in my opinion. It would take out of that 3-daily wick high and would also come back into the range. People would move their stop losses up if they are starting to long the market now, and they'd get taken out just in time for the market to really start moving towards that. Like I said, I think around that 80, 88 level would be a very, very nice level for us to then see that 3-daily RSI level go into the overbought territory, for us to then start to look at some very sharp pullbacks. But these moments now are times when we cannot be losing the forest for the trees. We've seen everything that we want to see here for the Bitcoin market price to bottom. We've got all of the clues on the pretty much only indicator I ever use, the 3-daily RSI. And it's not something that I'm just plucking out of the air, guys. We've simply used it for a long, long time in terms of the Bitcoin price chart, the Bitcoin price history. It's not something that we are just choosing to use right now. You see the historical impact of the 3-daily RSI. I've shown you it in the past, and I'm trying to show you it in the future as well. If we do get that chop in, that 3-month chop, I think any opportunities in and around that 60,000 region, that wick low, would be absolutely brilliant to start building some longs or just spot positions in and around this area. I do not believe we can go wrong in terms of the Bitcoin price. So that really is all there is to discuss on the Bitcoin bottoming structures. in terms of the free daily RSI. Of course, I will be updating more on the Patreon. Like I said, I'm currently working on a big Ethereum video, massive Ethereum video, on how I believe the Ethereum price chart will be moving into the future. I've just put one out on the Patreon, but we'll be monitoring as time goes on that very specific video on the charts and the price targets and how the waves are going to be moving. Like I said, the RSI, Elliott wave are pretty much the two only things I use in terms of price charts. I'll sometimes use a trend line as well, especially when it comes to big market structure and big market structure changes. You see here we've had pretty much a perfect retest. Now, a second retest of this trend line, in my opinion, right now, it doesn't make too much sense. We know what we'd do if we got it, but in my opinion, I'm not going to come out and here and say, I believe this might happen, this might happen. I believe the Bitcoin bottom is in. We've been given the clues throughout so many different technicals, throughout so many different sentiment indicators in the market as well. The interest is not here in crypto at the moment, so if you're here, you haven't lost the forest for the trees. I believe we're going to be very, very successful in the coming years as the herd return, and it will be our job as well to tell those people that return late into the market that they have returned late into the market. It will be up to those if they listen to the message or not. We've all been there. We've all been in that situation where you see the hype, you return to the market, or you come into the market for the first time and you think, number just go up. I can't go wrong. And then there's a couple of waves that happen and it embeds that psychology. You think, of course I was right, of course I was right. But now, as you bring it all back and you structure the pieces together, we know they are the three psychological moves in the market with the fourth manipulative move, which is what I believe we're in right now for the market makers and the big accumulators to fill their bags before the road to 200,000 plus. So sit back, relax, guys. Let the market do the work. Take it easy. It's not financial advice. I'll see you next time.